June 10th, 2021 meeting of the Burlington Conservation Commission to order. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, and also his March 15th order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Town of Burlington's Conservation Commission is being conducted through remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public are permitted at this time, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to or view this meeting may do so while it is in progress by tuning into the BCAT Government Cable Access Channel, the BCAT Government Meetings Facebook Live feed, or you can join the meeting over the phone if you'd like at 408-418-9388, and it's meeting number 179-740-747-7321. I'll repeat, meeting number 179-747-7321. And this information is available on the screen. Eileen Coleman is sharing that information now. To join the WebEx Live video conference, you can click on the link at the Conservation Commission's meeting page, or the Town of Burlington calendar, where you can call up our agenda and click on that same link, and you can go to webex.com, click on Join a Meeting, hit the meeting number that's displayed on the screen, and then if it's asked for, there is a password that is also displayed on the screen and is on the meeting agenda as well. New public hearings open tonight will not be closed, so as to allow comments from those who are unable to access or uncomfortable with the technology. Comments and concerns regarding public hearings should be emailed to conservation@burlington.org before our next meeting, which is June 24th, 2021. Okay, so with that, before we go over the agenda, I'd like to call the roll call and see who's here. Don Bernstein. Okay, he should be recorded as absent. Gail Lima.
Present.
Indra Deb.
Present.
Bill Boyven. He should be recorded as absent. Jennifer O'Riordan.
Present.
Ed Laturco. Ed, we can't hear you.
Here, okay, got it.
But I can see you, so you are visibly available. Okay. All right. And then the chair, Larry Cohen, is present for the record. Associate Commissioner Kent Moffett, is he here tonight? Nope. So he'll be recorded as absent tonight. Conservation Administrator John Keeley.
Present.
And Associate Conservation Administrator Eileen Coleman.
Present.
All right. Okay, so with that, we have the roll call. We will ask if anybody who's on the agenda, I will ask you to first introduce yourself and where you live. And all votes will be by roll call. I'll have to call each individual person because of the format. This meeting is being recorded. Now let's take a moment and look at the agenda. So I see here I know we have requests for determination and a certificate of compliance. Item 6, are we still discussing the minor engineering change for Van de Graaff roadway?
No, that will be continued.
Okay, so do we need a vote to continue a discussion?
No, it's an informal item. That's fine. You can just pass over it.
All right. Number 7 is the public hearing for the erosion and sedimentation control permit, 15, 25, 35, 45, and 95 Network Drive. John?
That'll be heard tonight.
They are here, yes.
All right, and it's the first night of the hearing?
No, that should actually say continued on the agenda. It should
That's
also-
right. That's what I thought. That's why I'm asking. I thought we had it last time.
Yeah.
All right. Then we have the continued public hearing, item number 8 for 59 and 61 Middlesex Turnpike. Applicant is Nuria Energy Corporation to demolish the gas station and convenience store and restaurant building and construct a new gas station and convenience store. I believe that is continued to the next meeting, June 24th. Is that correct?
Correct.
So, could I have a motion to continue the public hearing for 59 and 61 Middlesex Turnpike by Nuria Energy Corporation, DEP file number 122-657? Is there such a motion?
So moved, Indra.
Second Ed.
Okay, and that, all right, and that motion and second is for continuing to June 24th. All right, so we have a first and a second. With the, Gail, how do you vote?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes by a vote of 500. The continued public hearing is continued again for 59 and 61 Middlesex Turnpike until June 24th. Then we have number 9, 10, and 11, 3 continued public hearings. The first one is for the Redmond Street roadway. The applicant is Somerset Realty Trust. The second one is number 4 Redmond Street, an individual house lot by the same applicant. Number 11 is 5 Redmond Street by the same applicant. So I'd like to have a motion that would continue the Redmond Street roadway, 4 Redmond Street and 5 Redmond Street by Somerset Realty Trust to be continued to June 24th.
So moved, Ed.
Second?
Second, Gail.
All right, Gail, how do you vote?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
The chair votes yes, then for a vote by a vote of 500, the Redmond Street roadway, number 4 Redmond Street and number 5 Redmond Street continued public hearings as the applicant being Somerset Realty Trust will all be continued until June 24th. All right, so that's the status of the agenda. All right, so let's move through it. The first item on the agenda after roll call and agenda items is citizens' time. Is there someone here for something not on the agenda that would like to bring up a subject? All right, the record should show no one responded to citizens' time. Next is approval of minutes for May 27th, 2021. Is there any discussion? Is there a motion to approve the minutes of May 27th, 2021?
So moved, Gail.
Second?
Ed.
Second, Jennifer.
All right, so I guess we have a first and a second. Gail, how do you vote on approval of minutes?
Yes.
Andra?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes by a vote of 500. The minutes of May 27th, 2021 are approved. Item 4 on the agenda is a request for a certificate of compliance, 1 Elizabeth Ave by Gary Litchfield. It's DEP file number 122-624. Is there anyone here for that at the moment? All right, I see no reason why we can't move ahead with that. John, Eileen, do you have comments on this particular property regarding the certificate of compliance request?
So we had a site visit yesterday. Larry was the only one who went with us on the site visit. There's a few things to note. So there's an as-built plan that was submitted. The as-built plan was actually done on in March 2020. And so some things have changed since the as-built plan was done. So the as-built shows a row of boulders at the back, 20 feet from the wetlands. In fact, after that, last summer, the owners called and asked if they could put in a fence, and I approved the fence, not realizing that the as-built plan had already been done. So So the as-built plan does not actually reflect the demarcation, but the fence looked fine. There was a gate in it, and we did note some dumping beyond the fence, but it was just beyond the fence, so it's in the 20-foot no disturb. We'll talk to the owners about that. It was not in the wetlands. The wetlands there still were erosion controls up, which should be removed. Additionally, the as-built plan doesn't show the mitigation for the driveway runoff, and it does not show mitigation for the rooftop runoff. So what we saw in the field was, for the most part, there's a drip edge around most of the house. In the front, there was a downspout that went onto the pavement, but the pavement all seems to go to a trench on the left-hand side, and it doesn't look like any of it goes out into the street. So I think we were satisfied with that. And I think that was about it. I don't think there were any other issues. Were there anything?
I didn't see anything else than what you mentioned.
The patio also wasn't on the as-built.
That's correct. So the owners built a patio on the left-hand side within the limit of work, but that was done after the as-built plan.
Do we need the as-built amended, or are we okay with what it is and just note it as part of the record?
I think that's fine, the later.
Okay. All right. So, does anyone on the commission have any further comment on the request for a certificate of compliance for 1 Elizabeth Ave, DEP phone number 122-624?
I make note that I did see all the properties today, so I want to make note of that, but I didn't have any comments there.
All right. All right. Hearing none, could I have a motion to approve the request for the certificate of compliance for 1 Elizabeth Avenue?
So moved, Gail.
Second.
Second, Ed?
All right. Gail, how do you vote?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes by a vote of 500. The certificate of compliance is issued for 1 Elizabeth Ave. Is there a surety on this one under our bylaw?
It was 3,500
All right. What is your recommendation, John?
to release the full amount.
All right. Could I have a motion to release full amount of the bond for 1 Elizabeth Ave to Gary Litchfield, DEP file number 122-624?
So moved. Indra.
Second.
Second, Gail.
Gail, how do you vote?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes as well, 500, and the bond is fully released for 1 Elizabeth Ave. All right. Great. Now we'll move to item 5. Let's see. Let's see. 5A. Notice is hereby given the Town of Burlington Conservation Commission will hold a WebEx virtual public meeting, during which time we will have act upon a request for determination of applicability filed by Dana Rabel and Yogev Rabel. The commission will take all information relating to the proposed grading and landscaping activity within the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetative wetlands located at 62 Beaver Brook Road in Burlington. And will thereafter, the commission will issue a determination. The application is being heard pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, which is the Wetlands Protection Act, and Burlington Bylaw, Article 14. A copy of the application may be addressed by email to, request will be addressed to conservation@burlington.org. Okay, is someone here for that one? Okay, I think I saw somebody wave.
You're muted.
I think you're muted, yes. You're muted or talking very, very softly.
No, it doesn't show that she's muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, you just popped in.
Okay, I want technology. Thank you. Sorry about that. Hello, everyone. My name is Dana. I'm here.
Let me first ask you, did I mispronounce your name, your last name?
Well, it depends with what accent are you trying to pronounce it with, but with my native accent, it would be, my name is Dana Suslovic Rabel.
Rubble. Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you for making that clear. It's a lovely name.
Sure.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. So, well, you're welcome. And I assume you live at 62 Beaver Brook.
I do not. I currently live just over the town line in Barica, and
Okay.
we bought 62 Beaver Brook in the hopes of making this our family home. Currently, we live here, and hopefully, after we're done building there, we'll move there.
All right, sounds great. So the way we conduct this, if you're not familiar, is you're our guest, so you get to go first. So you can say anything you would like, as short or as brief or as long as you'd like, around what you're planning to do.
Well, I think you've all received our plans. So we're planning on, we haven't yet filed the permits, and I know this is a separate set of permits that we need to get, but we are planning on demolishing the existing home and constructing a new single-family residence. There are no wetlands on our property, but there's a nice-looking pond about 1.5 properties over. We're not changing much in terms of our buffer zone location. So the current footprint of the house is not going to change significantly. So it'll be within the 100 feet, but not any closer. That's about it. I think the details are in the schematics, of course.
All right, great. Thank you for that summary. Eileen or John, do you want to give us any comments relative to the resource area and the proposed work relative to?
Well, it'll be me. So as Ms. Rubbo said, the wetland is really behind the properties at number 62 and number 58 Beaver Brook. They've got the approximate line based on Mass GIS over here. They couldn't delineate it because it's on somebody else's property. As she said, they're going to be tearing down the existing house. I just have the proposed plan up here now and building a newer one. The new house is just inside the buffer zone. So if we go forward with this determination, we're going to include we're going to also regulate it under the stormwater bylaw. There's a big piece of ledge right at the back there that they're clearly going to have to, I'm just curious how they're going to deal with the ledge, whether they're going to be blasting or
Hopefully not
something.
blasting.
And I also just like a little bit of clarification on what sort of grading is happening here. Are we seeing the proposed grading, or is something else happening there? Those are my questions for the rebels.
So I'll start with the ledge. We won't be blasting, or we'll try not to blast. And we have two alternatives here. We'll either grade it to the minimal amount so that we won't have a full basement where the ledge is, but we'll have a crawl space. Or if it's really easy to remove, then with jackhammers, then we'll try to get as much of it out and have a full basement. But it's really an unknown at this point. We'd rather do anything but blast, to be honest. And the grading right here is not the proposed grading. That's what we have. We weren't actually planning on changing any of the grading because the grading here is still pretty decent for a nice backyard. It's almost even. And I'm not concerned with getting it far more even than that. I do think that with landscaping, it could just look very nice. But right now it's very wooded, so it needs cleaning up. It was clearly not a priority for the previous owners. So it definitely has a lot of growth of small bushes, etc. So if we clean it up, I think the grading without changing much will look nice.
Okay, Larry, just before you move on to questions, I just want to point out that we did administratively allow some tree cutting on this property. The tree cutting on the right-hand side was way outside the buffer zone. A few trees were cut sort of at the edge of the buffer zone, and John had mentioned to them, or at least to the, I think it was to the rebels at the time, that if the demolition goes forward, we would probably ask for replacement of some trees. So we did draft a determination, and that is what we proposed in there. So why don't you fire ahead with your questions, Larry?
All right, very good. Gail, do you have any questions or comments on this proposed project?
So just a couple. So first of all, am I correct in looking at the proposed plan compared to the existing? that the amount that's within the 100 foot is about the same in terms of the corner of the house?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, and then, how are you dealing with the drainage from this house, from the roof?
So we need to get a civil engineer. I saw that in the draft. We don't have that yet. I've forwarded this to our architect, and we'll consult with a civil engineer and obviously do what's needed to comply with the town regulation.
Okay, so, uh, um, and then, is the driveway that you're proposed is wider than the existing, is that true?
I don't think it's wider. It's just on the other side.
But it'd be closer to kind of well, it's far away, but yeah, okay. And then are you planning on taking any more trees down?
Any other trees? No, not right now.
Okay,
We cut down quite a decent amount of trees, as Eileen mentioned, and I know that John was talking to CJ Martel about it when we were doing it. So we're not planning on cutting down more trees, but we do need to plant 5 more, I think, as per the request.
so, I looked at it briefly, Eileen, but is there anything in the, order about, kind of handling the rooftop?
Can't hear you, Eileen.
Sorry, I couldn't see my finger at the top. Yes, we did.
Okay.
We didn't go into detail because we weren't sure whether they had any designs yet, and clearly they haven't. So we just said that they will have to infiltrate on site, and then they can just confer with us, just let us know what that's going to be.
Okay,
Which is pretty typical of stormwater permits. They
Yeah.
don't always know in advance.
okay, that's all I have.
So
All
we
right.
do have the design of the roof, but I don't think that the design has the answer for that question.
All right, Indra, comments or questions?
Yes, I have one question is, how much you are changing the grading? Are you bringing any fill on site or?
I think we're only going to change where the footprint of the house is, and that would really depend on how much of the ledge we can get out, and the area around that. So that's where we would dig, essentially.
Okay, but in the backyard, you're not gonna change anything, right? Or on the left-hand side?
No,
Okay.
it's a pretty big lot. I don't feel the need to flatten it out completely. It's unnecessary.
Yeah, I see that. It's about 2 feet on the left-hand side and 5 feet in the rear. Okay. All right. No, thank you.
All right,
Just to
Jennifer?
show you guys, this is the existing situation. So it's a pretty small house right now. I just wanted to do a comparison. Sorry, go ahead.
Jennifer?
I don't have any further questions at this time. Thank you.
Ed?
Nothing to add.
All right. I had one general question. I'm not sure who I'm directing it at exactly. You have those stumps there. I didn't notice in the material whether you said anything about doing anything. Are you thinking of grinding the stumps? And if you are, join Eileen, sometimes when that's done, they leave the shavings on site where there's depression. Is there a concern with doing that and then putting topsoil over it? Or I'm just wondering if anybody wants to comment on this.
I don't feel very strongly about that. I mean, if John wants to chime in, absolutely, of course, but definitely this is more than 50 feet from the wetland, so I don't really have an issue with what they do with the grindings. John, do you?
No, they can remove them if they want. It's far from the wetlands. It's not an issue.
Right. And if they're going to grind the stumps and then plant grass, for example, so is it fair to say, John or Eileen, that we have historically not had an issue with 2 to 3 inches of loam necessary to plant grass?
That's
I
correct.
think that will be fine
That's
under-
not changing the grade.
Yeah, I think they'll be fine under the circumstances. They're
I just wanted to bring that out so these folks knew that that was the case. Okay, I have nothing further. Is there anyone in the audience for number 62 Beaver Brook, the project that is proposed? No. So in that case, what we'll do is we have a draft decision a negative, what's called a negative conditional determination, and I assume Eileen or John will review the highlights, and then we will have a vote.
I will. So we have that the homeowners live in Beaver Brook currently. The plot reference plans were created by Edward J. Farrell. We had the existing and the proposed plot plan. The findings are that the applicant proposed to demolish an existing residence and construct a new residence with associated driveway, utilities, and also earthwork, grading, and landscaping within the buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland. The request for determination only listed the site work. However, a portion of the building would be within the 100-foot buffer zone to wetlands as well. As I mentioned earlier, the wetlands shown in the reference plan were based on Mass GIS Oliver, and the closest work was approximately 50 feet from the wetland. Conservation staff approved cutting of trees on site with the proviso that tree replacements would be required if work was determined to be within the buffer zone to BBW. And then the commission regulated the stormwater management of this project in the determination under Burlington's erosion and sedimentation control bylaw. This decision is only for the work as described in this determination. Prior to beginning any construction, sediment barriers shall be installed along the left side of the property line, across the Beaver Brook Road frontage, and across the right property and along the right property line for at least 100 feet. That's where the grade starts to rise at that point. Stake straw wattles shall be sufficient. The applicant shall plant, we're proposing 5 native trees on site as mitigation for the removed trees. The location of the trees to be planted shall be determined in consultation with the conservation administrator, and the specific species of trees shall be approved by the conservation administrator. They shall be native, and they shall be no smaller than 4 feet tall. All construction, demolition materials, and excavated soil shall be disposed of off-site in a legal manner. If sediments are tracked onto roadways, that should be swept up daily. No filling or grading on the property beyond what is required for the approved work. So as we described, 3 or 4 inches of loam is fine. Vastly different, they should come back to us and check with us. Rooftop runoff shall be infiltrated on the lot and not discharged into the roadway or adjacent lots. Method of infiltration shall be reviewed and approved by the Conservation Department. Dry wells or infiltrators, if used, shall be appropriately sized with appropriate calculations submitted to the Conservation Department. No use of pesticides, herbicides, or fungicides within the buffer zone, and members of the conservation or their designated representatives have the right to check on proceedings. And the last 2 are just standard conditions about violations and occupancy permit sign-offs.
Okay, so Dana, did you hear anything that you have a concern about or have a question about?
I have a general question, kind of curious. Grading outside of the 100 feet buffer zone, is this something that still requires conservation approval? Because that, just curious.
Generally, no. It's outside it's outside our jurisdiction. In most cases, if it's outside the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetative wetland, which is what we have.
Unless it exceeds 10,000 square feet of land disturbance.
Okay.
That would be an erosion and sedimentation control issue.
Makes sense. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. So does anyone in the commission have any further comment on this? Hearing none, then could I have a motion to issue a negative conditional determination for the project at 62 Beaver Brook Road under the State Wetlands Protection Act and Burlington Bylaw Article 14?
So moved, Ed.
Second?
Second, Indra.
All right, so we have Gail, how do you vote?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes by a vote of 5-0-0. Your project is approved.
Yay, thank you.
You're entirely welcome. Good luck. Welcome to Burlington.
Thanks so much. Have a good evening, everyone.
You too. Bye-bye. All right, so next on the agenda is item 5B. Notice is given that the Town of Burlington Conservation Commission will hold a WebEx virtual public meeting, during which time we will act upon a request for determination of applicability filed by Robert and Doreen Bevington. The commission will take information related to the proposed construction of a residential addition and the replacement of an above-ground pool within the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetative wetlands located at 19 Dolores Drive. The application's being heard under the State Wetlands Protection Act and Burlington Bylaw 14. To obtain a copy of the application, just email conservation@burlington.org. Okay, somebody here for that one.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, we can. How are you
That's
tonight?
good. Good, thank you. My name's Bob Bevington. I'm here with my wife Doreen. She's off camera. We are trying to put an addition on the back end of a house. It's about 70 feet from a swale, I believe it's called, in the back of my property or our property. And that plus the moving of the above ground pool from where the addition is going to the other side of our yard.
Okay, thank you for the summary, sir. All right, so Eileen or John, would you like to give us comments relative to the resource area, distances, and the proposed project?
Sure, that'll be me again. So this came across my desk as initially a proposal just to move the pool from one side to the other. I'm not sure if you guys can see my cursor of the backyard, and I had said yes, you can go ahead and do that because it was basically just a similar change. And then it turns out because I got a second, they submitted a second building application as they're required to do to actually not only move the pool, but actually to take down the pool and the deck and the porch and to replace it with a slightly larger addition. So at that time, I asked Mr. Bevington to submit a request for determination of applicability. Well, no, actually, first of all, John and Lena, we took a look because we had seen we had some very old documentation from the 90s talking about a swale and a stream in his backyard. And when we went out, this red line here marks a wall, a wall, a little stone wall, and behind that wall, basically behind here, is wetland. So the existing pool is a little bit further away than his proposed um, addition, and the new pool, which will be going across on this side, will be actually further away than the existing pool is. So I know that wasn't possibly very clear, but the proposed addition is something like, I can't remember what I said now, 50 or 70 feet from this wetland line. Was that
Do you
clear?
do you have any concerns, Eileen, over this project?
I don't have any concerns about this project. In fact, because I had told him, so this is on me, I had told him that he could move his pool. So that was actually due to happen today. I'm not sure whether it did. When I spoke to Mr. Bevington yesterday, he said there was a tiny little bit of grading was going to happen here, just literally to kind of cut back from the back of the property towards the front, just to level it off. And he was going to have them store any excess material behind there and closer to the house.
Okay,
But I don't have any concerns about this project.
all right, so let's go to the commissioners and see if there's any further comment or concern or questions. Gail?
No, just one question. Are there any trees going to be removed in, moving the pool from one side to the other?
I'm not sure if Bob's going to answer, but no, I mean, mostly this is existing pool and deck. Oh, let me get rid of that.
So there won't
and
be,
it's
but there
just a
aren't any
few,
like trees in the, that
no, it's
are
just a few
nearby.
extra feet of grass.
Okay.
I don't think so. Bob, were you proposing to remove any trees?
I'm sorry, the audio was a little not good. I
I
think
said,
you asked if I'm doing anything with trees. There's no trees involved in the addition and anything we're doing.
Okay. All right, Gail, anything else?
No, thank you.
Indra?
No, nothing to add.
All right, Jennifer?
Nothing to add, thank you.
Ed?
Nothing.
I have nothing further either. Is there anyone in the audience who has a comment or question about the project at number 19 Dolores Drive? No. All right. So we have a draft negative conditional determination, and then we will give you the highlights, and you'll get a copy of it. And if it's approved, then your project will be ready to go. So Eileen, would you review it, please?
Okay. The plan was the proposed plot plan signed by Kevin Kiernan, and with the sketch addition of the stone wall by the applicant. The applicant proposed to remove an existing 18-foot diameter pool and deck directly behind the existing house, construct a 37 by 20-foot addition at that same location, and install a new 18-foot diameter above ground pool on the right side of the property. I forgot to mention that we inadvertently said it was going to be an in-ground pool in the agenda, but it's definitely above ground. This just describes how I initially allowed them, approved the proposal to move the pool from one side of the yard to the other, and then they were asked to do a filing. The work was located within the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands. The proposed addition was approximately 50 feet from the BVW and approximately 15 feet closer than the existing pool, and the new pool would be further away. The Commission is voting to issue a negative determination of applicability only for work as described above. Prior to beginning any construction, sediment barriers shall be installed and inspected at the limit of work behind the addition. Bob shall call me in to come out and take a look at the wattles. All construction or demolition materials shall be disposed of off-site in a legal manner. And no excavated soil shall be placed beyond the erosion control boundary. There should be no stockpiling of soil or other materials within 50 feet of wetlands. No tracking of sediments onto public roadways shall be allowed, and in the event that it happens, that should be swept. There should be no filling or significant grading of the property under this decision. All existing drainage patterns shall be maintained. The project shall not increase the rate of flow of runoff nor cause storm damage to abutters or the property of others. There should be no dewatering permitted on this site in conjunction with these conditions unless approved by the Commission. Rooftop runoff from the addition shall not be discharged onto pavement, so it needs to go onto lawn or into some, you can discuss that with us, Bob, if you wish. Do not dump sediment or lawn clippings into the wetland area, and do not use pesticides within 100 feet of the wetlands. And the property owner shall be responsible for adhering to the conditions contained herein. And the others are just standard about, again, non-compliance. We are allowed to just come and check out proceedings.
Okay, you can always, Bob, you can always call the office and ask questions if you have any, but at this point, did you hear anything that gives rise to a question?
No.
Okay. That was, okay, very good. That was clear. Did the commission, anybody on the commission have any comments on the conditions that have been discussed? All right, could I have a motion for a negative conditional determination for the project at 19 Dolores Drive under Burlington Bylaw Article 14 and the State Wetlands Protection Act?
So moved, Indra.
Second.
Second, Gail.
All right, Gail, how do you vote?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
The chair votes yes. By a vote of 5-0-0, the project at 19 Dolores Drive is approved. Bob, good luck with your project, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, you have a good evening. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.
Yep, bye-bye. Okay, next on the agenda. Let's see. Next on the agenda, we have, let's see. Would we have that Van de Graaff minor engineering change discussion? That was continued, so I think we're on the continued public hearing, item number 7 for the erosion and sedimentation control permit. It's 15, 25, 35, 45, and 95 Network Drive. It is, the permit has been applied for by the Nordblum Company. It is to construct a bioscience building with associated parking, landscaping, and utilities. And this is a continued public hearing for an erosion and sedimentation control permit. Somebody here for that one?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the board, Todd Fremont Smith with Nordblum Company, also Frank DiPietro, and Marissa Valentino from BSC Group. I apologize for missing the last hearing. I had 3 hearings at once, and these guys were very nice to cover it for me. We're here tonight to, if I can work this computer, hold on. If you do see a PowerPoint coming up,
Yes, we do.
it's good. See if I can make it work here. It's not what I want. We're here tonight. So this is for 25 Network Drive. This is the last unbuilt site on the former Sun Micro campus, which we acquired in 2007. You've heard this story many times. The office market, as the board knows, is a little bit slow right now, but the life science market is not slow. It's actually, it's booming. So we are, building on this corridor of life sciences that already exists in Burlington and is coming to Burlington. We are planning a 270,000 square foot, 240 to 270,000 square foot hybrid life science building, which will be office, laboratory space, and GMP biomanufacturing space. So the building is called Building 25. It's at the top right of this screen. I think Frank and Marissa covered this last time. It's essentially in the same place as the office building that you permitted a few years ago, but it's being designed with the Richmond Group out of Cambridge and Spagnola Guys, Miss Architects, to be a pure science building. So this looks like coming up from the main entrance. Again, 25 Network Drive. The upper level is laboratory use, and the lower level is biomanufacturing use. This is a picture of the front door. Again, we're really trying to get sort of that Cambridge aesthetic, as the tenants that we're talking to, and we are talking to tenants, are coming out of Cambridge. There's no room in Cambridge, and they need a place to go. And they're more than happy to come to Burlington. The next stop for them is, out 495 or Fort Devens. I had heard from BSC that at the last hearing, sidewalks were a discussion point. So what BSC has done here is indicated all the sidewalks on the site, on the campus, in red, and in blue, the new sidewalks as proposed as part of the 25 Network Drive project. Also at the top left of the plan, the board will remember we're attempting to develop a series of trails through the wooded areas in between the buildings at Northwest Park and Network Drive. And you'll see that there is an intersection of that trail that runs behind Lifetime Fitness with the North Ave extension sidewalk on the top left of the plan. This campus, as the board knows, was it's developed really as an internally focused campus, and much of what goes on there is not seen by the public, and much of the internal spaces are not visible from the public view. So I thought I would just dwell on that for a little bit. These are internal sidewalks at Network Drive. I think Frank and his team measured this at about a mile of interior walking trails or sidewalks within the campus. And then, of course, where people are really walking now is, as the board knows, during the week. And I know that people visit the campus on the weekends and after hours, but the office workers are most interested in walking down to Third Ave. Third Ave is a little over than half a mile being twice around the high school track. So if you can picture yourself walking around twice the high school track, which many people can, there is quite a bit of pedestrian traffic that goes by my office building, especially at lunchtime, that is going to Third Ave and then back again. This is a picture of the trail behind Lifetime. I do owe this board, or at least the staff, a walk in the woods. I want to see if we can expand this. I know that there may be some areas that the board is concerned about as we cross through the woods. Much of it is dry, but some of it crosses depressions and other land features that I want to make sure that before we start expanding this trail network, that we're working with the staff and any of the board members that are interested in walking through the woods along Third Avenue with us. But there is a legitimate path. I've done it a couple of times, and there are legitimate options for getting out of the office park and into the woods between and as part of these two campuses. I thought I'd just, because many people don't see inside the campus, just take 5 minutes and 3 minutes and show you. This is the Winter Garden, which ties all the buildings together. So even in bad weather, You know, the tenants in the building and visitors to the building can physically move and get exercise by walking. It's a big campus. It's like walking around the Burlington Mall. So it's that kind of scale in terms of the distances that one can move within the campus. There are things to do. There are game rooms, ping pong table. Wish we had this in our office. Pool tables. There's food on the campus. There's coffee on the campus. There are places to sit, places to get away. It's very much like a college campus. You know, we have a Starbucks facility in the building. And as the board knows, the internal spaces are quite green and quite highly developed. You know, this is an outdoor amphitheater on the campus. You can see the pathways. People move around. In bad weather, they can walk through these tunnels, and in good weather, they walk outdoors. There are places to sit, places to read, you know, to have coffee. Lots of pathways. As I said, just off camera here to the left is actually a putting green. I couldn't get it to load on my screen here, but there is wayfinding signage, landscaping, trees, grassy spaces. And this all goes to wellness and goes to people moving during the day, not sitting, but moving around the campus. One of the most successful programs we have is this community garden. We've been building these raised beds within the campus. Again, you can't see this from outside, but this is a very popular program. I'm told by our management team, one of the most popular programs on the site. We have honeybees on the site that are maintained by a third party, but pollinate the site and pollinate the area. We have on-site fitness, of course. That's just one picture. We have an on-site interior shooting court, basketball shooting court. We just installed a professional level golf simulator. If anyone wants to play golf, I'm not a golfer, but I'm told this is the top of the line. And people come on the weekends, actually, the tenants come on the weekends to play. There are 3 stations here, and there's a line on Saturday to practice. And again, we have outdoor cafes, and it's all about getting people outdoors. The campus is a LEED certified gold, which we're very proud of. And it was not when we bought it, but we worked it up the chain and recently received Fitwel, the second level of Fitwel, which is the first office campus in the United States to get to Fitwel has 3 levels, and we're now at the medium level. And it's the first campus in the United States to get there. I know I'm digressing a bit, but I know the board is concerned about health and wellness, and so I thought I'd go there. And then Frank, I don't know if you have any I know you submitted some responses to the board. Is there anything else that you'd like to say from a technical standpoint?
Let me unmute myself first before I start talking. So one of the items that was brought up at the May 27th hearing was to do a kind of an evaluation of the wetlands that are basically downstream of the campus on the other side of Middlesex Turnpike. And originally we talked about sending a wetlands person over there, taking a look, see if the plants were in good shape. I spoke with one of our wetlands scientists, and that area has been in that way somewhere around 20 years. He said, you know, it would be really difficult. If I'd been out there 20 years ago, I could make a real good estimate. And what he suggested was that at some point, this could be part of an order of, it's not an order, but part of the conditions for the erosion sedimentation, that he'd like to bring out not only a wetland scientist, but a soil scientist. They could do a coring, and you could apparently, I don't know the details, but you could tell if there was a change in the sediments. 20 years, you don't get a lot of sediments unless there's a lot of and there's not a lot of sediment coming out of the detention pond. But basically, go into that, do a coring, and you'd have some potential of figuring out what was there before and what's there right now, and make an evaluation, not only based upon just the plants that are out there, but also the soils that were there prior to the construction of the project. So that's something we would recommend the commission consider, and if there was a condition, we'd set that up, would coordinate that with the commission staff.
Okay. Todd, are you all done with the?
I'm done with my speeches. Yes, thank you.
I didn't want to call it a speech. It's more like your comments. All right. Okay, so John and Eileen, either one of you, do you have comments on what was submitted and whether there was something we were expecting that we didn't get or whatever?
Well, you were expecting comments and they came in this afternoon, so I don't know if Eileen emailed them to you. Did you? No, okay, so we, like at 4:15, we got a
Sorry.
comment letter addressing some of the issues, one of which Frank just addressed, the wetlands. One of them was the condition of the existing drainage system, including the detention ponds. They also responded to the request to do solar. So you can read those comments. We'll certainly get them to you. But we just got them. I guess since I did get a chance to read them, I do have a comment about the drainage system. So I mean, it's basically a 1990s drainage design and construction. I mean, that's when the Sun campus was designed and constructed. And the basins themselves are 25 years old. So there's no indication that Sun actually did any maintenance of those basins. So I think, and we also issued a permit in 2014 saying that they should be evaluated. And obviously you never used that permit because that project just never happened. But I think you need to do that sooner rather than later. The suggestion in Frank's memo is that we condition in it that it be done before occupancy. I would suggest that it should be done fairly quickly. And I do have another question, and my apologies, I probably should have checked this first, but Todd or Frank, did the Sun campus get a certificate of compliance before you guys bought it? Are there as-built plans that actually show those basins or the right size and that we signed off on that?
I don't, well, I certainly have not seen any as-built plans. I don't remember seeing a certificate of compliance. I can check. My gut feeling is it wouldn't have been sold. So there's a lot of title research done,
Yeah.
and that's an encumbrance on the deed. And
Yep.
so my guess is that there might be a certificate of compliance. I can confirm that. I don't know that, but I can easily check with the registry on that.
And I can check too. So that would just be another concern if that hadn't been done and there was no as-built, that not only the condition of the basins, but just to make sure that they were actually constructed as designed.
Yeah. Well, John, Mr. Keeley, this is a big project, and we have no objection to a condition that addresses whatever concerns you had about, getting in there and maintaining those basins, doing a report, doing drawings of those basins, of that drainage system if they don't exist. I would assume they're somewhere, Frank, right? We could talk to Bob Buckley. I know he was involved in, but
Yeah, I don't remember seeing them. No, I
Okay.
didn't. This was done by a previous company I worked for, and I was there at the time. I didn't work on this project. I don't remember ever seeing them there. That
Okay.
doesn't necessarily mean they don't exist. And I can certainly check on that. But in the record, I didn't see anything that had an as-built plan for the basins, at least. There were portions of the site, utilities and stuff like that, but not the basins to my recollection.
I can check on it too and see what we have.
Okay.
Just as an aside to the commission, speaking of the wetlands on the other side, the applicants are also working on a project at the Kent Cottage. I know some of you who watched town meeting would know about that, but there'll be a project coming up on the other side of the street at some point in the future.
All right, John, could you clarify your comment? You said something should be done sooner rather than later. What exactly were you referring to? Could
Well,
you refill?
so the occupancy could be, 2 years from now. I don't know how long it'll take to construct this building and get tenants in there, but I think, they shouldn't wait 2 years to check it. They should.
To check what?
The basins.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought you were talking about, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Frank, what would make sense prior to a building permit?
We certainly could do that. I mean, if we're looking to try to get an approval from the commission on your 24th of June, that's not going to happen, but we certainly could send the survey crews out, do that, compare the as-built plan with the.
No, I think
Yeah,
what
no,
John was
that's
saying
fine.
was,
Yeah.
The building permit would be fine.
building
Yeah.
permit,
Okay.
because that would, John, that would give us, if there was an issue, then we'd have a construction crew on site. It'd be easy to just say, go do this or do that,
Yeah.
as part of this process.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And let's go to the commission, if you folks, John and Todd are through talking for the moment, let's go to, Gail, do you have anything at this point?
No, I was just looking over, the questions that were asked before and the responses, and it seems like most of those things were responded to. I guess the one thing that is limiting here in terms of, you said that this is kind of the Cambridge, MIT, Harvard group that will be, occupying this. The one thing they don't have is access to commute by bike and public transportation. And that's something that, as a business community with the town and the state, really need to get going on, because it's, as a resident here and someone that commuted the opposite direction, it's becoming an unlivable type of environment. And when you're not working, you feel like a prisoner, that you look at the time, it's like, oh, 3 o'clock, stay away. And I think that will be a really limiting factor going forward in terms of keeping this a viable, not only residential, but business community.
Okay.
We agree. A couple of points. We actually paid BSC last year or the year before to do a study on how to connect the Minuteman bike path to Northwest Park. It is possible, and I've been discussing it with Melissa Tintaklis as well about trying to find some grant money to do that. So we agree, and we have some people in our office who used to ride their bikes from Cambridge, senior people. It gets a little crazy on Middlesex Turnpike, but you can get very close. You can get almost to Best Buy, The second part is we do have an MBTA bus that comes directly to this campus. It stops at Wegmans, stops at Lifetime Fitness, and then it comes to this campus. The 351, I believe, it's an MBTA bus. It's not great. It's excellent service. I've heard that they're going to be narrowing the service windows just to the morning and the afternoon for 2 or 3 hours in the morning, 2 or 3 hours in the afternoon, as the MBTA struggles with its budget problems. But it is a good service and goes almost directly to Alewife. It goes to Alewife. On the way out in the morning, we're one of the first stops. On the way home, we're one of the last stops. So it's almost a direct bus to Alewife.
Yeah, so as you know, that for the bus is usually low on the list in terms of people and public transportation. It's not something you alone can solve, but it is a problem. And anyone who drives 128 knows that, once you approach Burlington, it's just a major logjam, and it's horrendous. And the local streets are getting, because everybody avoiding 128, the local streets are getting jammed up because people are, trying to find alternate routes to go. In terms of trying to deal with kind of increase in cars and so forth, it's a bigger problem than, we can solve here, but it's just something that, as you have influence, and you have influence at the, kind of the state level as well, that I think that you should be, using your influence as much as possible. That's all.
Understood. And we do.
All right. Indra, anything?
No, nothing further.
All right, Jennifer, anything further?
No, nothing further. Thank you.
Ed?
No, nothing to add.
I have one comment, and since you're here, Todd, I think I tried to articulate it last time, and I don't think I did a particularly good job on doing that. So I will articulate it again for you. Given that we have a few natural areas in the immediate environs, we have certainly the wetlands behind the Kent Cottage. We have the pathway from North Ave that goes down to Lifetime Fitness. And we have the path that goes opposite that one that goes across into the woods towards Route 3 and goes down towards Revolution and where your headquarters are, and all the way up to close to Route 62. And I also will admit that I have trespassed on your campus on a few occasions, to go from one side to the other, so to speak. And I've noticed a lot of the nice features and the internal walking paths and so forth. And now I understand that they're not really advertised as open to the public. And you also may remember that in your lifetime residential project on 4th Ave, I made mention of a path. Here's what I envision. I envision that what would be a substantial improvement is something with signage that would allow a continuous loop. Let's start with the Lifetime Fitness and go around through, and I realize some of this would be along the sidewalk, would come around and maybe through your 4th Avenue project and somehow tie into 4th Ave and come around onto whatever that street is, North Ave, and come up and around, and then would perhaps traverse the Network Drive campus, maybe for a limited access where there is not, as you put it here in the thing, that where there is not, some tenants have security concerns, maybe where there isn't security concerns, or far enough away that we could go to the other side of the campus, then come back and around through Network Drive, and then perhaps then come back down to North Ave and go down that natural path or something like this. And I have this vision that there'd be some kind of a circuitous route that would have nice signage, maybe in a few selected places, some benches, and that would go around. I would consider that sort of for me, that would be a major enhancement to sort of say, like, here is a designated trail and it goes up and around, it goes here, there, and there's signage pointing to go this way, and the signage going that way. And the key to connecting it all is I think, to a certain extent, limited access, perhaps not in the middle of the Coria campus, but somehow limited access to get to the other side of the campus and to come around somehow. I understand the security concerns of the tenants, and I'm not, what I'm asking for that I think would be an improvement is probably not a major ask. The big issue is whether it's feasible or not, in order to do something that is sort of an enhancement with signage and maybe a few benches and things like that. So I was trying, last time I tried to articulate this, that there'd be sort of a connected path around through your various projects and so forth. And I'm wondering if my request last time was for you to take a look at it, and I'm not quite sure I don't even know if I did any better articulating it this time.
No, I think you did, and we're happy to take a look at it. As you know, it's easier in Northwest Park because the roadway is public, so you have the sovereign immunity issue. As you get onto a private campus, there are liability issues. So I need to discuss. There are just general liability issues, and then there are issues regarding tenant leases and tenant security and what those leases say and who's allowed to go where. But I'm more than willing to think about it further with you, with the board, and see what we can do. I mean, I just can't make any promises, but we're not adverse to, without giving permission for people to come to these areas. The public visits Northwest Park, the public visits Network Drive. I'm told on the weekends, there are quite a few people up at Network Drive walking dogs and flying kites, I'm told, or even drones. So, it's not, we typically don't enforce the area as a private area, but it is a private area. So we have to maintain our rights. So somewhere in that gray world, Mr. Cohen, we're more than willing to try to work with you.
Right. If you could, even coming up with a concept, that would be an improvement over what you have.
Yes.
I will admit in public that you folks have been very good and very willing to do that kind of thing. I just wanted to sort of lay out that vision that maybe there's an opportunity here, even though I think there are some hurdles to overcome.
Understood. And I'll follow up with you on that, or the board, or John,
Sure.
or Mr. Keeley. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And the other thing is, I guess the answer on the structured parking is that it doesn't, from your point of view, Todd, that it doesn't look feasible?
It's
to-
infeasible today. I think, you know, it's interesting. I was saying to Frank that I think 10 years ago, Burlington did not allow structured parking. So
Right.
now a point where we're, I think if the campus were to continue to grow, and I think it could because it's really resonating with the life science market, those folks are willing to pay rents to which we're unaccustomed. And it could be that as the campus grows beyond where it is right now, I think the only way it can grow is structured parking. So if there's any consolation to my saying it's not feasible today, it's that any next step that I take, if I come to town meeting for additional buildings or would have to be done by structured parking. The other thing that we're wondering in the future is, do we need all this parking? Because
Right.
we don't know what's going to happen to the office market. Everyone's coming back to work now. They say they're coming back to work. I was in Boston for a 4 o'clock meeting yesterday, and it was the worst traffic I've ever seen. People are confused. They're leaving at strange times. You know, you got people who are sort of local that are out and about. So I think we have to let this whole thing settle out, figure out, you know, what is the future of vehicular transportation. I don't think it's going to change overnight, but I think it'd be silly to be building structured parking right now when we don't even know if people come to the office twice a week or 3 times a week, if the traffic's going to settle down a little bit. So the answer right now is it's financially infeasible, but it is a nicer product. It is a nicer building if you have structured parking. It's nicer for the tenants. You know, and it affords a higher density without any more disruption of green space. So
Right.
I understand why you're asking.
Well, I'd like to amplify why I'm asking. The reason I'm asking is because aside from that, structured parking is more efficient and it's better site aesthetics than having a sea of asphalt. I see as opening up perhaps opportunity for perhaps consolidating and adding green space with easements for the public to cut across more easily than the problems that you have just articulated with access to the public. And so I see it as an opportunity for a green space corridor that might allow access across the campus to get to the other side and come around more easily. So that's the reason.
Understood.
All right, good. Okay, I understand the reasoning you've offered. All right, so is there anyone in the audience who is interested in the project at 15, 25, 35, 45, 95 Network Drive for an erosion and sedimentation control permit? Is there anyone in the audience has a comment or a question? None. So let's talk about where this is going. The next meeting is June 24th. John or Eileen, do you have a comment on whether we can expect to wrap this up, or do you think it has to go one more meeting? Or Todd, do you have a deadline for permitting that this interfaces with?
Yeah, we're hoping we do have a live tenant. We are hoping to start construction in the fall. And I think the planning board, Frank, meets next Thursday night.
Correct.
You know, the planning board approval is probably more critical to keeping the process moving. We certainly can't start construction without your approval. So would the board be willing to maybe send a note to the planning board saying that there are no substantial issues, or are you not there yet? I guess is really the question.
All right, John, do you have a comment on that, please?
No, I think we could do that. We could just note the issues that we have about inspecting the drainage and whatnot, and send that to the planning board and have a draft decision ready for the 24th.
Okay. How's the commission feel? How does the commission feel about that? Is there any issue with that as a timeline that will close this out on the 24th?
No issue.
Okay. All right. So then why don't we go to a motion to continue the hearing until June 24th? Could I have a motion to continue the public hearing for the erosion and sedimentation control permit of 15, 25, 35, 45, and 95 Network Drive? Request by the Nordblum Company to construct a bioscience building with associated parking, landscaping, and utilities to be continued until the June 24th meeting of the Conservation Commission. Is there a motion?
So moved, Gail?
Second? All right, so Gail, how do you vote?
Yes.
Indra,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. The public hearing for the Network Drive project erosion sedimentation control permit is continued by a vote of 5-0 to June 24th.
Thank you very much.
All
Thank
right,
you, folks.
all right. It's good to see you all. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Take care.
See you soon in person.
Yep,
Yes.
maybe next
Bye
time.
now.
Sounds good, folks. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Oh, all right, so next we have, let's see, we're all the way down now to, looks like we're at administrative issues. Number 12A, planning board comments. You'll give them a bulleted list of the outstanding issues on that and tell them we're planning to close on the 24th, John or Eileen.
Correct.
Okay.
And so
Any other?
we're also waiting for the planning board on Noria on Middlesex Turnpike. So, but we've already given them comments from our last meeting. So presumably we may be able to close that one at the next meeting as well.
Oh, that would be good. Subcommittee and staff reports and updates. Anything from anyone on that? Next meeting is June 24th and July 8th. If you're not, can't make it, let staff know, please.
So I'll just say on that one, unless the governor or signs legislation, which hasn't completely passed yet, the emergency order, which affects the open meeting law regulations, will expire. And so the June 24th meeting would be in person. Everybody sort of expects that there will be legislation passed, which will enable an extension to the virtual meetings. But I'll let you know, and certainly it'll be on the news and whatnot if there is legislation passed.
Okay, look forward to that. Other business, is there anybody here? Mr. Coopy, I see you were here.
Yeah, we do have
Yeah, I
other
had
business with Mr.
requested, I've been,
Cooper.
I've been in contact with Eileen earlier. I needed a copy of a certificate reissued, it looked like.
So you issued a certificate of compliance for a project at 14 Eastern Ave in 2014, and that was not recorded. So Mr. Coopy needs a copy of this so that he can get it off his deed. And we just wondered if you could please vote to re-sign a copy of the COC, and that'll be ready for your signatures when you come around to do the rest of the signatures.
Okay, sure. Could I have a motion to reapprove the project at 14 Eastern Ave for a certificate of compliance under Burlington Bylaw Article 14 in the State Wetlands Protection Act?
So move it.
Second?
Second, Indra.
All right, Gail, how do you vote?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Chair votes yes by a vote of 5-0. The project at 14 Eastern Ave has been reapproved for a certificate of compliance. Mr. Coopy, thank you for waiting all that time.
I'm trying to sell the house and it's like coming up quick on me, so I gotta do it to make sure. So I appreciate you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, you got to see how we do things, and you stayed awake the whole time. That was really
That's
good.
right. That's right. So I've had nothing but great interactions with the conservation the whole time I've been here. So nothing but thank you very much.
Thank you for those comments, sir.
Thanks.
All right. Okay, so where are we? We're at anything on other business other than that one? Hearing none, could I have a motion to adjourn the meeting, please?
So moved, Indra.
Second?
Second it.
Gail, what do you say?
Yes, please.
Indra?
Yes, of course.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
And the chair votes, well, let me think about it. Yes. Okay, by a vote of 5-0, this meeting of the Burlington Conservation Commission is adjourned. Everyone have a very good night. Thank you all.
Good night.
Good night. Good night, everybody.
Have a good night. Thanks.
Good night.